Matt Ehalt joins us, Mets beat reporter for The Record and NorthJersey.com. The Mets have hired a new manager. His name is Mickey Callaway, and Matt joins us here on Big Board Sports on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Good morning, Matt.
How you doing today?
We're good, Matt. Appreciate a few minutes. There were a lot of names that I was hearing about and reading about for a couple of weeks. To be honest with you, I didn't read much about Mickey Callaway, and lo and behold, he's the new guy and the new manager for the Mets. What do you think of that choice?
Yeah, certainly it's quote unquote outside the box a little bit. He had no ties to the organization. They're giving first time manager. They're giving him a shot. He has a pitching background, which the Mets need with their pitchers. So it's certainly it's an interesting decision. We'll see how it pays off. Certainly nothing to dislike about the move.
I mean, I hear good things about him. You just don't normally see a pitching coach become a manager.
And Matt, you pointed out Dallas Green was the last guy to make this move in terms of the Mets hiring a manager.
Yeah, as you guys just said, there's not a lot of times where you see not many. I believe, and I may be wrong, but I believe Bud Black is one of the few former pitching coaches who is actually a manager at the moment. So it's not something that you see all that often.
I pitched for the Rays, the Angels, and the Rangers from 99 through 2004. So I guess if you're a Mets pitcher, and we know that the Mets are deep at pitching, and we hope that the injuries all get worked out, I guess that relationship should be a really good one, right? If you're Noah Syndergaard and Matt Harvey and these guys, and you say, hey, Mickey Callaway that's his background, man. He's a pitching guy. That would bode well for them, and maybe get them organized a little bit better.
Yeah, certainly. That's something where they could definitely help out. He has a background. AJ Hinch said the other day, someone asked him about what it means to be a former player, and his response was basically, he said, "Hey, I've been there. You look at my baseball card." He's like, "I struggled." He goes, "I know what it's like to be there, to be going through what these guys do." So Callaway can relate to the guys and say, "Hey, I've been there." You look at his career stats; they were not very good. So he can connect with the guys and be able to say, like, hey, I've been there. I've been down the road. I know what it's like to struggle.
And you can find exactly, what Mickey Callaway's success level was in Cleveland. Check out Matt on Twitter at Matt Ehalt, E-H-A-L-T, and on NorthJersey.com. Matt, I read your piece that I saw this morning anyway, and it detailed how the Indians' pitching staff vastly improved when Callaway jumped on board in 2013. This year, top 2 in the American League in ERA, hits allowed, and strikeouts. As a guy who covers the Mets, what should the expectations be for this starting rotation now? I know they're tempered a little bit, obviously, after last year, but still with Syndergaard and DeGrom and Harvey and Matz and everybody else, what should Mets fans' expectations be of that starting staff?
It's hard to say at the moment because a lot of this is uncertain because you don't know how healthy any of these guys are going to be. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think you can count on a good season for Matt Harvey at this point. Is Steven Matz going to be healthy? Is what are you going to get out of Zach Wheeler? I mean, it's tough to say. Now, the Mets are hoping that by bringing in Callaway, he's going to change a lot of those things. And, you brought up a lot of the Indian guys, and yes, they had very good numbers with Callaway. A lot of things that go into that. That Indian staff is pretty,
right.
Good here. So, a lot of times with pitching staff, it comes down to the talent and the rotation. The Indians certainly had it, and certainly, Callaway play a factor in that. But hey, if these Mets guys are not healthy, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. I mean, Dan Warden was a very respected pitching coach in the game. He did a very good job with the Mets. You look, they went from like second and third to the next year. So if these guys aren't healthy and if they're not producing, it's really just tough to say what they can be next year.
Time with Matt Ehalt, Mets beat writer for The Record and NorthJersey.com, and the hiring of Mickey Callaway as the new manager, which I think will be made official today, right, Matt? Today they'll.
The expectation is it will be announced today. The MLB prefers that teams do not overlap with the World Series. They kind of ask them, like, hey, let us have our moment for the sport. They, when you think back to the whole, A-Rod thing from all those years ago where he opted out, they try and pretty much say, get your business done before or after the World Series.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense to me. Let me ask you this, Matt. Let's assume that this pitching staff gets healthy again, and that, all right, they're ready to roll, and it's a really good staff. What would be the expectations then for this Mets team as you look at the rest of their roster and the rest of their lineup outside of the starting pitching?
That's a tough thing because I don't think that's a realistic expectation at this point. Like, I don't think you can expect them to be healthy pitching-wise. They haven't done it for, 2 straight seasons now, so to expect they're going to all of a sudden. But, I mean, in a dream scenario where all those guys were healthy and productive, I mean, Matt Harvey made 30, or Matt Harvey last year, not 30, sorry. Matt Harvey made plenty of starts last year, and he had a 6.5 ERA. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, he was out there. He just couldn't get anybody out. If they have a good pitching staff, yeah, they'll be one of the top 5 to 7 teams in the National League again. They're going to need at least 2 more bats. Matt Harvey was out there in 19 games this year. They will need, they're probably going to need another outfield bat. They're probably going to need a bat for the infield. So it'll be interesting to see, how they go. Will they go big? Will they go J.D. Martinez-like? Or are they going to, will they go a little smaller, maybe Jay Bruce? But they need to add some bats there. And one of the things is going to be, how do, Yoenis Cespedes and Michael Conforto return after last year?
Matt, what would be your best guess on hitting coach Kevin Long? Obviously was up for the open managerial spot, got passed over. Do you see him staying, or is he now out by way of getting passed over?
It's hard to say at the moment. I would guess that he is going to return just because the Mets expected him back. So it might be one of those things where, he comes back to the organization. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, that might be one of the fallouts if there's a press conference today. Obviously, that will be asked about Kevin's status. I could see him returning, just because he interviewed with the Mets. It wasn't like he interviewed all over. He was the guy, and I think he does have a good rapport there. But certainly, when guys get passed over for jobs, sometimes they feel they need to go to another organization. Also, Mickey Callaway may have a guy that he wants to bring as a hitting coach. Now, maybe the Mets, we'll hear later, maybe the Mets did go to him and say something along the lines of like, hey, we'd like you to keep this guy. And he said, yeah, that's no problem. I mean, that's happened before where teams will say to guys, we'd like you to keep this guy. But, we won't have a real good idea until we actually talk to Sandy Alderson and see, kind of where things stand. But Kevin Long's contract is set to expire this soon. Okay. So, that's something to keep an eye on.
Matt, always a pleasure. Thanks for a few minutes. Busy times with possible press conference today, but we know the Mets have a new guy. We'll see how that works out, and we'll be in touch with you down the road here after we get through some winter stuff and maybe closer to spring training and all that. Matt, always a pleasure, man. Keep up the great work.
All right. Thanks a lot, Brad.